am delighted here to speak on borderless world, utopia or nightmare. It will be my endeavor to bring technology perspective to the subject matter. Let us first begin with 4 factors which decide whether or not we can call something a borderless world. Ideas, commerce, work and people. If these 4 factors can flow seamlessly from one country to another country, that world will be borderless. But first, what are borders? Borders are first and foremost physical boundaries between nation states or any such geographical entity. Wagah border is a prime example. Typically, these borders will have all the physical infrastructure and the trappings and paraphernalia which goes with national boundaries. Originally, borders were created to keep outsiders from coming in. Great Wall of China is one such example. But in recent history, there has been a case of Berlin Wall, which was created to stop insiders from going out. Why do we have borders? This is a hangover of revolution. Right at the beginning, animals started creating small territories of their own, within which water and food belong to them. Humans followed the same practice. They added land and minerals. And definition of a state or a country was complete. Human beings are still evolving, and so does our definition of borders. I would actually submit that borders today are not cast in stone. They are, for all practical purpose, lines drawn on sand or on the sands of time, if you please. They keep changing, they can be redrawn, they can be erased. After all, in our own country, our boundaries today are not the same we had in 1947. And in 1947, the boundaries were not the same what we had when East India Company came in the year 1600. Let us go back to ideas. In the beginning, ideas were confined to a city-state where they originated. One of the best examples is silk making. Chinese emperors did not allow the process of making silk to go out of the country till another emperor, Byzantine emperor, managed to commission a bark to smuggle the silk worm hidden in a bamboo stick outside China, and the world knew how to make silk. Fortunately today, we do not have to physically travel with an idea. We can simply send it out, printed on a paper or via telephone. These few inventions changed the communication of ideas for all time to come, and world became totally borderless for the ideas. Internet came and things changed again. Now it was possible through social media like Facebook and Twitter to simultaneously share your thoughts with many like-minded people. This is how you can have millions of people assembling at one designated place, all driven and inspired by idea of democracy. Arab Spring was born. Innovations similarly do not have any limits anymore. Low-fat noodles designed for India to serve the low-cost requirements of rural areas now can be sold as healthy noodles in Australia. Similarly, small ECG machines designed to serve the needs of low-cost requirement segment in India or China can be sold as miniature portable ECG machines in North America. Basically what we are saying is simple. Ideas and for that matter innovations or thoughts cannot be quarantined anymore. Earlier, a king or an emperor could imprison somebody, and since world did not know about him, world forgot him. Today, you cannot get away with such acts. There is a downside. You cannot quarantine a conflict anymore. If there is a conflict in one part of the world, its repercussions can be felt all the way on another continent. But on an overall basis, borderless flow of ideas has made this world a better place. Now we move on to commerce. These states or countries additionally put barriers to free flow of goods and services. Quota, license, tariffs, duties, everything serve the purpose of becoming hurdles in the world commerce. Over a period of time, democracy and democratically elected governments worked to make better choice of goods and services available to people. Free trading blocs such as NAFTA in North America, EU in European Union, in Europe, and ASEAN in Southeast Asia created conducive environment where duties and taxes were brought down, informal non-tariff barriers were brought down, and it became possible for countries to trade higher and higher. Supported by various agencies of UN, various multilateral arrangements were arrived at, and as you can see for yourself, global trade has grown 250 times in last 60 years. Even the cross-border capital flows have grown 11 times in last 30 years. And this has all led to better availability of goods and services, also at better prices. Work had to follow commerce, ideas and trade. Capital went to those countries who have cheaper raw materials and labor available in plenty. Finished goods produced in these countries were exported all over the world, including the country which has sent out the capital. Offshoring of manufacturing was born, and once offshoring of manufacturing happened, the service jobs were not to be left behind. But please remember, this happened. The borderless work happened because borderless ideas, borderless commerce and borderless trade had already happened. Nature of the corporations changed. They became truly multinational with factories, offices, back offices located all over the world. Virtual office was born. People sitting in one country could have, thanks to technology, they are meeting with people sitting in another country simply over a televised conference. World truly is becoming borderless as far as work is concerned. And this is better distribution of work all over the world, more efficiencies and better productivity. Now we come to the final frontier, people. What if you and me could migrate like birds? How nice it will be if we did not need passport, we did not need visa, and simply landed in another country. Ancient empires tried to achieve this goal by force. They took over countries, erased borders, and made it all one kingdom. But those who were defeated, they often rose in revolt. Rebellions happened, empires broke up, boundaries came back. Once again, technology played its role. During last 50 years, radio, television, cinema, the medium which do not recognize any boundaries, the radio waves which cut across national boundaries. They don't see where are the borders on the ground. Satellite transmission does not recognize any boundaries drawn on Earth. All these media made it possible for us to know and experience other people's culture. We got to know them better sitting in our homes. We know how Americans speak, what are their mannerisms. We know Italian and Chinese, what do they eat, and we like the same food. Slowly over a period of time, as the familiarity grew, we got to know the people on the other side of border are like you and me. Hostilities came down, fear of unknown went away. And that is where democracy came into play again. Democratically elected governments voluntarily chose to surrender some of their powers. One of the best examples is Schengen visa. Many governments in Europe actually made it possible that people from one country could go to another country without needing visa. Not only that, they made it possible that visa issued by one state was honored by all. Similar in the case of US-Canada border and India-Nepal border, where citizens of two countries can freely move into each other's country. But let us take it a step further. Instead of talking Europe, Asia or North America, if whole planet was one, what would it mean for us? There are some interesting data points available from Gallup poll, a leading market research agency's research output, periodically done. In case free movement of people was allowed without any restrictions, many countries will see people moving out. But the case of these four countries stands in particular. They may lose half of their population. Imagine, Africa as it is a continent which is rather thinly populated. In that continent, if the population were to live in some countries, what it would mean for society, for the economy, and for the government systems. Please do not think that the problem is only confined to small countries. As per Gallup poll, even India and China will see net 6% of people leaving the countries, which means even though some people will come in from the neighboring countries, the outflow is so much more. Now 6% may look like a small number, but when you remember that two countries together have a population of 2.5 billion, 6% is 150 million people. If these 150 million people also happen to be the most educated, most creative, risk takers, then the impact on the two societies can be really great. And when you open the floodgates, some get flooded. Many countries will receive net inwards immigration, but four of them will see their populations doubling or tripling. Try to put yourself as management of those countries and imagine how will they provide jobs, accommodation, living standards to all these people. As you ponder over these 3 points, data points which I shared with you, let me take you back into history when after the First World War, two entities came into being, Soviet Union and Yugoslavia. Both of them lasted 60 to 70 years and broke up in early 90s. They had issues, difficulties, inherent contradictions. Books have been written, research papers have been written, articles have been printed. Let me not get into that. In one line, I would like to suggest that they broke up and 21 countries came out of these two, simply because they were the meeting of the minds of their leaders and not the meeting of the hearts of their people. At this stage, let us stop and conduct a thought experiment. Let us assume that we have learnt lessons from the history and now we are ready to form a world government. One of the first questions we will face is, will it be a socialist or a capitalist government? Fortunately, both the systems have been converging, acquiring the best features from each other. So in all probability, perhaps we will have a market economy with human face, human touch. Assuming that we get over this issue, we have to look at the composition of the world parliament. The challenge here will be that if there are 500 parties in this world parliament, as you know, India has 30 parties already. How will they form coalitions? How will they agree on their policies? How will they go about sharing power? For I can almost hear you thinking that presidential form will work better. Yes and no. Imagine someone from Varanasi, born and brought up here, trying to run a world government which has responsibility of US and Europe also. Will that one man understand all the issues? Perhaps not. Supposing we can find a person like that, the fear is, will he become a dictator? It is so all-knowing, so all-knowledgeable. Will we end up getting a 21st century emperor? I would say that it is not impossible to find solutions to the challenges I have shared with you. Forewarned is forearmed. We can look at finding solutions. And that government will have to rely very heavily on technology, supposing we have found all the solutions. This government will be overstretched to run education, healthcare, policing worldwide. You know that national governments often share their frustration that their policies do not get implemented effectively in the states. And states governments complain about their policies not getting properly implemented at city or village level.
To sum up, if we take the example of a pole vault event, as far as ideas are concerned, they have pole vaulted across all barriers. As far as commerce and work is concerned, we are almost there. Perhaps in next few decades, these two are going to be borderless. It is only the people front where we still need to work. To conclude, we cannot simply wish the borders away. We cannot erase borders in one go. It is going to be a process of gradual evolution. Borderless world is neither utopia nor nightmare. In all probability, it is likely to be utopia for some individuals, but a nightmare for many governments. Question is not borders or not borders. It is my submission that right question to ask is how high or how low borders. Mankind is evolving, human race is evolving, facilitated by increasing developments in technology, and I am confident and I would love to see the mankind rise to a borderless world.